Hello, folks. Thank you for listening to Mountain Mule Media, Connecting Montana. I'm your host, Tim Baldwin. This podcast is a production of Mountain Mule Transportation. It was created to help locals and travelers connect more deeply with the businesses and people who make Montana such an incredible place to live and visit. In each episode, I sit down with Montana business owners and community leaders to hear the story behind their work, how they got started, what they've built, and how they help create a better experience for both residents and visitors. If you enjoy this podcast, please subscribe on your favorite platform. And if you use any of the services or businesses you hear about here, let them know you heard about them from Mountain Mule. And when you need private transportation with Montana's hospitality, please think of Mountain Mule Transportation. Thank you for your support, and I hope you enjoy the show as we keep connecting Montana. Matt, North Bridger Bison, thanks for being here.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
Yeah, what can you tell me about the farm and what you and your family do?
Yeah, so my wife Sarah and I and our two kids, Otto and Greta, we started our bison ranch, North Bridger Bison. We started it from scratch over 7 years ago, and we raise bison totally in sync with nature, and then we have a direct-to-consumer bison meat business where we sell our bison meat by the quarter, whole, or half bison direct-to-consumer. About half of our customers are in the greater Bozeman, Big Sky, Livingston area, and the other half all over the country.
Okay, so do you retail just like single cuts, or it's just the halves and the quarters?
Yeah, no, hopefully next fall we'll be able to start doing smaller portions and retail cuts and other things. But right now our minimum order is a quarter, which runs, it's about 85 pounds of meat. So it's actually like less than what people typically think. People envision the like monster bull on the cover of a calendar in Yellowstone Park, and that's not what we're field harvesting.
Yep.
Usually.
It's pretty lean meat, the bison meat.
Yeah. It's like the greatest red meat in the world. It's incredible. It's like super lean, very flavorful. People often describe it as having like a light, natural like sweetness to it. And yeah, just like really delicious, super healthy.
So you guys are grass all summer, hay in the wintertime.
Exactly. Yep. So we're 100% grass-fed operation, and we try to extend the grazing season as long as possible, and then eventually feeding grass hay and or a grass alfalfa mix. And yeah, the animals are thriving out there. It's been awesome.
How'd you get into this?
Long story. I'll try to keep it high level, and then you feel free to fire away with any questions you have. But non-traditional, non-linear path into it. So I'm born and raised outside Chicago. No background in agriculture whatsoever, but always loved nature ever since I was a little kid. And after college, I took a year off and then went to law school for two reasons. One, had a dream of being an environmental lawyer. I care a lot about the environment and became a big conservationist, and then also had fallen head over heels in love with Montana, and had the dream of being a lawyer out here one day, potentially. So I went to law school and then went to Chicago after law school for 3 years, which I knew wasn't for me long term, but was a good place to start. And then my wife, Sarah, and I, we got married in 2008 and quit our jobs and moved to Bozeman. And at that point I knew being a lawyer was not for me. And so I ended up doing non-litigation policy work for the NRDC out here for 10 years. And bison was the big issue I worked on. But just the nonprofit policy world, it's just an endless slog. It's important work, and I'm grateful for the people that do it, but I found it wasn't for me. And passionate about food and land and conservation, big meat hunter. And bison was the big thing I worked on at NRDC. And I read about bison ranching and read this memoir, Buffalo for the Broken Heart by Dan O'Brien. And one thing led to another, and we decided to go for it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I always say, I don't know if you know this about me, but I come from a farm background.
Oh, okay.
I grew up on a dairy farm.
Oh, cool. Where?
Upstate New York.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
I always say the best farmers don't come from farms, though. It's a totally it's just a very broad opinion, but they just seem so much more passionate. Like a lot of people in my situation were like, this life is kind of forced on us.
Yeah, I mean, I think it like anything in life, you can't paint with a broad brush. There's definitely I think from what pros and cons. I think the nice thing about having no background is, we just say, hey, what's best for the animal? What's best for the land? What's best for the business? Let's do that. We're not dealing with, I always joke, my last name's Skoglung. There's no, this is the Skoglung way of ranching. We're only going to do it that way. So it's a little liberating, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And at the same time, there's a lot of great farmers who
Exactly.
are multi-generation.
Right. No. And and the our neighbors are multi-generation ranchers, and they're incredible ranchers, incredible people. And just their I don't know, institutional knowledge that's passed down from generation to generation about the land, the water, the creeks, the springs, that's priceless. And I think it just comes down to each family. And, for us, I always, our kids are young, they're 8 and 11. And so we don't force them really to do any sort of ranch work. I mean, every now and then we're like, hey, you got to do this, but we try to keep it fun and interesting so that, they don't resent it. Because there's plenty of stories of people that were like, oh, I couldn't wait to get out of there. Yeah. And then there's people where it's just in their blood, and they've got, fourth, fifth generation. And I think those stories are absolutely amazing.
Yeah, no, I can relate because I have a big admiration for farming, and part of me is I want to get the hell out of here and do something else.
Right.
But I get that. There's some multi-generation farmers and ranchers have just this inherent knowledge and wisdom that
it's incredible. Yeah, it's really cool.
And then at the same time, I've had to unlearn, just dogmatic ideas that have been just passed down. And,
right.
Yeah, it's tough. It's when you I come from a more commercial farming background, and then when you start to think more about what you eat and what you're putting in your body, you start to look at it a little different than trying to get max production for enough profit to maybe survive.
Sure. Yeah.
And yeah, it's not even it's not for max profit usually in farming. It's to maybe be profitable at the least or the most.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many different types of farming and ranching, and even in Montana, each ranch is different, and there's so many variables from land, weather, climate, geography, where you are in the state. So yeah, tons of differences, lots of nuance out there.
Yeah. So what else can you tell me about the ranch? What's a day there look like, and what's any of your philosophies or just how the place is run?
Sure. So we're located up in the Shields Valley, which is, really, really beautiful spot. We're about 30 miles northeast of Bozeman. And we, ultimately manage for biodiversity. We love nature. We love biodiversity. We're in the middle of an extinction crisis. So we manage for biodiversity full stop. And then also because the science is clear that the more biodiverse our ranch is, the more species of grasses and wildflowers and bees and butterflies that we have out there, the healthier the animals are, the more resilient they are, and the healthier their meat is. And then we really strive for a no stress operation. So when I move the bison from pasture to pasture, I pull them, I don't push them. So I go out, get their attention, and then they literally follow me into the next pasture. And they've done this enough that they know I'm leading them to fresh grass, and they get excited and start running. And then very importantly, particularly for bison, because they haven't been domesticated, when we sell an animal, I field harvest each bison on the ranch, which is a field kill.
Yep.
So instead of putting them on a truck and shipping them to a slaughterhouse, which is super high stress for bison, so there's an ethical, humane component to that, and then there's also that stress negatively impacts the quality of the meat, and so we just reverse that. And so Friday, I field harvested a bison and just drove out to where the bison were that morning, and it's a headshot with a copper bullet from 10 to 15 yards away. The herd's there. It's literally as ethical and humane as it gets for food, and leads to just out of this world delicious bison meat.
Yeah, that's very cool. There was a guy back home where I grew up. He used to. He would come to your ranch and harvest and he had a big hitch that you could hang him on, and he'd quarter him and take him.
Oh, cool.
But I remember that just when any of the pigs, it was primarily pigs we slaughtered because we had a dairy farm.
Yeah,
But just chasing those things and fighting them on the trailer, and they're doing something they've never done before. And
totally.
yeah, and years later we got wiser and we'd park the trailer out in the field, and then they'd run in the trailer for a few weeks.
Yep.
So it was better. But
That's smart. Yeah.
still, by the time you run them down the road, and they say, I don't know the truth to this, but when the animals get to a butcher, they can smell it.
I've heard the same thing. I've heard the same thing. You know, I had a friend who's a cattle rancher here, and they field harvested some, you know, a cow or two on their place, and they were saying that when the other animals came by and smelled the blood, they like kind of freaked out and went crazy.
Oh, interesting.
So hard to say, but you know, I think if you, you know, if an animal spent its whole life outside on a ranch and then finds itself on a, you know, in a confined box on concrete with a roof over its head, it's going to be disorienting to say the least.
Yeah. When you say you pull them instead of push them, what's the process? Do you have a special call for them or anything?
Yeah, actually, from that same cattle ranching family I mentioned, he does some sort of yodel, which I can't do, but I do like a whistle, clap, and I don't even know if that really does it. It's more just that they know.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like the best way to describe it is like, so we have our ranch cross fenced into a whole bunch of different pastures. So let's say I moved them into a new pasture. And so right now it's July 1st, green grass everywhere. If I moved them into a fresh pasture today and I went in there tomorrow, like they wouldn't even look at me because they got all the grass in the world.
Yep.
But after a certain number of days of grazing, peeing, and pooping, at some point when I show back up, those older cows are literally looking at me like, hey, are we doing this or what?
Yeah.
And because their herd instinct is still so strong in bison, once you get a few of the lead animals coming, the rest of the herd just follows because they always stay together.
Yeah. I'll have to ask my mother because I remember my father used to have this one. He'd yell something like kabas. I have no idea what it means or where it comes from, but it's like those cows would hear that and they'd come like nothing.
Oh yeah. I mean, these animals are smart. I
Yeah.
mean, they're just, you know, they're really smart.
Our dairy cows, people couldn't believe this. They'd go in, we had a tie stall barn. They'd go into their same stall every day.
No way.
And they'd remember. And we'd always put them in the same stalls because sometimes we'd change their feed ration a little bit and they'd remember the stall and like 44 stalls and they'd know which one.
For real.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I've never heard that.
Yeah. And I'd say like at least 75% of them.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And then like on a small family dairy farm, like they really are pets. You're milking them every day.
Oh, yeah.
They're not like,
of course.
They're pretty domesticated.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool, man. What, and then you said hay in the wintertime.
Yep.
And are you doing like, you're feeding hay out in the pasture? They're still running through the pastures in the wintertime, or are they more?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. No, they're just, excuse me. You know, bison have been on this landscape for tens of thousands of years. They're built for winter. They're built for summer. So when it's 30 below, like I literally don't even think about it. The bison are just out there doing their thing. And so we drive out and roll out hay bales for them. And yeah, they're just out there, bison being bison.
Do you guys put up all your own hay too?
No, we don't put up any hay. As first generation ranchers starting in the last, starting at 7 years ago, the operating wisdom today is it makes more sense to, particularly in our case where we don't have 100,000 acre ranch, to graze everything. And then buy hay from your neighbors.
Yep.
As opposed, like haying equipment is super expensive. And then you're going to have to, portion off a certain part of your ranch that you're not going to graze because you're going to hay it. And so, buying hay is not cheap, but you're bringing all those nutrients and all that organic matter onto your ranch. And the bison, they eat most of the hay, but not all of it. And any hay that gets left behind is like super valuable out here in a dry environment like we have in Southwest Montana. So that leftover hay creates like a mulching effect where it helps retain any rain that we do get, and the grass, and then it ultimately just breaks down over time, builds soil. So yeah, like buying hay is the way to go for us for sure.
So and you'd call this like a regenerative practice, most of what you're applying?
Oh yeah. I mean, so, regenerative agriculture, it's funny because I listened to lots of podcasts on it. It doesn't have like a, uniformly accepted definition. So everyone kind of has their own definition of what regenerative agriculture is. And to me, it's, broadly defined, it's farming or ranching in a way that makes the landscape better. Yeah. And the soil scientist, Nicole Masters, who's a good friend of mine, she's the first person I heard say this, and I loved it. She said, she said that she hates the word sustainability because to sustain something literally is to keep it the same, whereas to regenerate something is to make it better. And so over the course of the year through our practices, we're building topsoil. We're not losing it. We're not plowing it up and, watching it blow away in the dust, in the wind. We're sucking carbon out of the atmosphere, storing it in the soil, building organic matter in the soil, providing habitat for bees, butterflies, all sorts of pollinators, songbirds, raptors, waterfowl, wildlife. So providing just the biodiversity out there is pretty incredible. And then we have these bison that have these magical stomachs that thrive on grass, and each animal provides around 350 to 400 pounds of the healthiest, most delicious meat you'll ever taste. So yeah, we would consider ourselves beyond organic and definitely, and very much regenerative.
Very cool. What else can anyone do to, find out more about your ranch or support it? What do you guys have going on?
Sure. So, visiting our website is a place to learn a lot more about us. We've been fortunate. People have been interested in our story. And so we've gotten a decent number of media stories and have done multiple podcasts. And we have all of it more or less linked in our blog. And then all the details on ordering bison meat from us. The only social media we do is Instagram, and we're at Northbridger Bison there. But I think that, I just think right now we're in this, kind of existential crisis in the Bozeman area with growth, development, watching farms and ranches get sold, plowed under, housing developments come up. And, that's not why people moved here.
Yeah.
People didn't move here to see land get developed. I'm a realist. I understand that I moved here because I fell in love with it, and a lot of people are doing the same thing. They want to move here. Yeah. So we have to find a way to, smart growth is a huge issue. But I think that, if folks really love Montana, supporting Montana farmers and ranchers, keeping them on the land is a huge thing. And so whether it's us or one of our neighbors or someone else, I just think supporting buying direct from Montana farmers ranchers is voting with your dollar, and it's the food will be delicious, and you're helping keep families on the land, help keep that land producing food. There's a great bumper sticker you see around here, cows, not condos. Yep. And it's real. Yeah. I think that it's a very simple way to take action that has a lot of trickle down effects on land, rural communities, Montana, that are all very beneficial.
Yeah. And say the URL to your guys' website.
It's just northbridgerbison.com.
Okay. Cool. I'll link that in the description too.
Cool.
What's your favorite part about being in this business and doing this work?
I just, having an 8-year-old and an 11-year-old, I really love raising our kids on the ranch and seeing how it has affected them, their deep love of nature, and the self-confidence they have. And then for me, I just Aldo Leopold is a hero of mine. His book, A Sand County Almanac, had a big influence on me. I love land. I love nature. And so I think for me, it's besides the impact on our kids, it's just being so intimately connected to the natural world, on a daily basis, feeling the seasons change, in the spring, that like when the birds return and we hear the first sandhill one morning, it's just like, it's an incredible thing. So I'd say, yeah, that's probably my favorite part.
Yeah, I know I was borderline complaining, but I realized I won the lottery being born on a family farm. It's like you couldn't have a greater upbringing, just being around my siblings and the farm and the stuff you learn you have for the rest of your life.
Yeah, no, for sure. We love it. And it, there's certainly plenty of times, I'm sure you remember as a kid, it can be hard and there's lots of trade-offs. But like we have the four of us, Sarah, myself, Otto, and Greta, like a very close family because, we live on a dead end dirt road and there are no kids around for them to play with. And so it's a different life from what I grew up with, but, I love it and passionate about it. And, it's been a hell of an adventure.
Cool. Well, I'm excited to get this out and hopefully some people buy some beef from you and check out what you guys do.
Yeah, no, awesome. Thank you, Tim.
Awesome.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Matt. Appreciate
All right.
you.
Thank you.